Diffondé par les câbleaux-distributeurs pour les Canadiens.
Hi, welcome to Beyond Politics. I'm Catherine Clark. New Brunswick MP Brian Murphy has a long history in politics. He started out as a city councillor and a mayor, and now since 2006, he's been a member of parliament. He's a devoted father of three, an avid outdoorsman, and one of the wittiest guys on the Hill. He has a very busy life outside of the political spectrum, and he joins us now to talk all about that life beyond politics. Brian Murphy, welcome to Beyond Politics. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here.
Now, when I was looking into, when I was doing some research getting ready for this show, I noticed that your father was a surgeon, your uncle was an MP, now your brother's a surgeon, and you're an MP. When you were young, did you guys flip a coin to decide what you were going to do when you grew up?
Well, it's a funny story. I mean, he was the bigger brother by 4 years, the bigger physically, and I found the only way I could get ahead of him was to sort of use my mouth. And whenever we were fixing the skidoos or the trailers, I was the guy holding the flashlight. I was the third. You know, there was the major surgeon, my father, and the surgeon-to-be, my brother, and they were tinkering with the carburetors or whatever. I was holding the flashlight, and I was told to go get this. So I found a niche, which was the spoken word, the written word, which wasn't, necessarily their thing. And I suppose the psychological, my analyst says that's why I became a lawyer and a politician. And yes, it's been in my family, so it's not out of whack that I became, a politician, I guess. Do
you see, when you look back, are there personality traits that your brother shared with your dad and that you shared with your uncle, or any, like, you have a quite political family? Your cousin was served in the provincial cabinet up until recently, back home. Do you see traits in yourself that are similar to the politicians?
My uncle Henry was a storyteller. He was in Ottawa. He was a great storyteller, sort of one of these typical sort of Irish storytellers, and I think I share that as well. I do a wicked Ted Kennedy imitation. Catherine, I can do that very well. So there's traits there, but people say I look like my father. So I guess, apples don't fall far from the tree. My father could take either side of any debate and firmly believe it. So he was, could have been a lawyer or a politician. I think this goes back to my grandfather, who came up from the country and, ran as an alderman and all that sort of thing. So it's been around our household for a long time.
What were you like as a kid? A talker?
Yes, I was a talker. I was, at the risk of ruining my future political career. In our neighborhood, I imagined, I was 6 years old in 1967-68 when Georges Vanier was, and I just imagined that I wanted to be him, so I put on my mother's white gloves and a blue little coat and a blue hat, and I walked around the neighborhood, and Mother said it was pretty funny, thinking I was Georges Vanier, because he had come to Moncton that time. So a little bit of a dreamer, probably, and definitely a reader and a storyteller. I mean, that's probably what I was as a kid, and not a liar, because that's not good for future politics, but, bit of a dreamer.
What was it like at home? Did you have a busy household?
Yeah, my father, Fred, was duty first, but his second duty or equal duty was the kids. Like, he didn't golf or sail or with his male friends. He would rush home. I remember it so well. Rush home, very tired, doing surgery all day, and he'd rush to get us out into the woods or the streams or very, very close to us, just the two of us. Yeah. And he was an exceptional man. He's been dead 10 and a half years, and I miss him greatly.
I bet you do. Also tough that he didn't get a chance to see you as MP.
Yeah, I think about that quite often, because that would have been a very proud moment for him. But he was there, really involved in my first political stuff, which was running for mayor, and he was very involved with that, and it was a very proud night for him when I got elected, because it was partly, in many parts, due to his reputation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tell me about your mom.
My mom is a good Irish Catholic girl, Joyce. She's a nurse, did nursing in Montreal. They both lived in Montreal for about 10 years. Weren't sure they were going to come back.
Is that how they met?
No, they met. No, it goes further back. They met in grade 2 or grade 1.
Wow.
Yeah, in the east end of Moncton, and
isn't that something?
Yeah, they didn't really date till high school, and then they went to different. Mom went to St. Avex, he went to UNB. They met up in Montreal again, and got together there, and they have fond memories of Montreal, and she's just a great woman. She lives next door to us.
Yeah. How did that go?
Oh, it went well.
Good.
My wife, Jacqueline, is a very appreciative person to have, a grandmother next door. It's a real plus.
Absolutely.
And we know where she is. She's safe.
Yeah.
And she takes care of the kids now and then. My wife works as well, so it's worked out extremely well.
That's super.
Yeah.
So when you were little, you come, as we've talked about, from a pretty accomplished family. Did you have a sense of what you were going to do when you got older? I mean, was there an expectation that you would be something in particular?
No, just be hardworking and good, I think. I mean, I remember coming home from, like everybody in first or second year university, you know everything. And we were putting the Christmas tree lights up, and I told my father the way we were going to do it. And he just looked at me with those steel brown eyes and said, listen, Sonny, we'll see your marks, and then you'll tell me how to put the lights up. So there was that sort of undercurrent of don't really care what you do, but get the marks, do well, work hard. And it was clear by my first year biology courses at Dal that I wasn't going to be a doctor or didn't want to be. And then I very much was driven into the law, and
why? No
surprise. I think it's the part about speaking and debating. I was in a debate club all through high school and university, and just naturally drifted.
It was a good fit.
Yeah.
It's tougher to talk to people who are unconscious on an operating table.
That's right.
You get a great
Well, they don't
response.
talk back.
No.
Yeah. That's what I always say.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So you're in university, you decide on law. At what stage did you meet your spouse?
Well, not too much later. I, like every maritimer, headed down the road and worked in Toronto as a lawyer. And at some point, 4 or 5 years into that, I moved back to Moncton in around 1990. Got involved in the community, and I didn't meet Jackie till 1992.
Okay.
I, strangely enough, knew her father because I had worked summers at the Liquor Commission as a clerk, and he was my boss for a couple of summers. So.
All right. And you didn't know that?
Well, I didn't know her at all.
Yeah.
I had met her and then found out she was Ephraim's daughter. And I gather the lore now, 17 years post-marriage, is that she wasn't too sure about me. Maybe I came across a little confident, I would say. There are other words. And she said, I met this guy. He said, he's a good man. He's a good man. You should give him a chance, or something like that. So I don't know if that's true.
Wow, you're lucky, because that's a pretty ringing endorsement from a future father-in-law.
Yeah, so we're lucky there.
Yeah. So, 1992 was also the year that you ran for city council, wasn't it?
Yes.
Why did you run? Because it seems to me, you would have had a good law practice and comfortable life. Why run?
Well, no, in fact. I moved back.
You were living in a tent.
No, I was a young man working on Bay Street in Toronto. The world was my oyster, but there were no oysters in Toronto. So I moved back and, took quite a pay cut and wasn't as busy. And I remember looking around. It just happened like it was yesterday. I watched cable TV here at city council meetings, and I looked at the city council representation and just thought, got to get involved. So I got involved, and with that, it probably helped with my law practice because it's about name recognition in this.
So you kept practicing while you were a counselor?
Oh yeah.
Man, that's busy.
Yeah. Well, it's Moncton. It's not Toronto. It's I forget. I think my first paycheck as a city councilor was something like $2,800. So it's not really something you could live on.
Right.
High.
You mean per year?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's a while ago.
That's good.
Yeah.
You got a light craft dinner with that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a start.
So tell me about the actual election process. Did you find it campaigning? Was campaigning something that you found yourself to be adept at because of your ease with the spoken word, or? Well,
speaking has so little to do with ward politics. The number of times you'd get to speak in a campaign, I don't know, kind of one. So it's really just diving into a community and going, the door-to-door thing, and going to the East End Boys Club. And no, I wouldn't think anybody would say it's easy, it's new. So you learn. But, it's 18 years ago, and I was young and lots of energy, and I had a lot of young people with me. People are still with me in the campaigns, and it was just a lot of fun, because you had this one area of town, the east end of Moncton, where all our family came from, went to those parochial schools that didn't exist anymore. But it was a lot of fun, but not easy. I don't think it's easy for anybody to shed their skin and go door to door.
Did anyone tell you were too young?
Yes, people told me. My opponent, God rest his soul, we became great friends later, Norm Crossman. He's a great man. But he was going around saying, I don't know what you're running for. You don't even own a house here. And I didn't. I ran from an apartment. And it's funny, you turn guys like that around to be great friends after a while. But sure, lots of people thought I was not established, not as young as I should be. But there's got to be always a mix of the sage and the verve in politics, and that's what makes it a great system.
Well, and I guess I wonder, where did you get, or how did you keep the confidence that allowed you to keep doing what you were doing, running, in the face of people criticizing you for any number of things? I mean, we hear all the time about politicians need to have thick skin and such, but that's said for a reason, because people don't treat you as a person, they treat you as a commodity, basically. And how did you get that confidence to, at a young age, to stand by your convictions and think you're the right guy for the job and keep doing it?
Well, I think like any politician, that if you don't have the cushion or the harbor of friends and family, my mother and father were alive, and I would say, oh, that person said this about me, and they'd, oh, don't worry about them, or, maybe you should change what you said or something. And now it's the cushion of, your wife, and you would know, Catherine, that in politics the family is such a harbor for nourishment and encouragement. And I think without friends and family particular, because your family will never turn on you. They'll never say, oh, I guess they were right. If they do, maybe you wouldn't hang out with them.
Maybe we got the wrong thing.
Yeah, but no, that's how you do it, I think, like anybody, really.
So 98, you decide to run for mayor.
Right.
How did your family react to that?
Well, I think everybody was very positive, very positive. We just had a 2-year-old, and we had a very young family. So Jackie was sort of busy doing that, and I'm not really sure if she was totally for it or not, to be honest. But
it's because you were so sleep deprived, you actually don't remember me.
Could be. Yeah. Well, we always said one of us had to get a good sleep.
Yeah.
So that was me.
Was that you?
No, that's not fair. I mean, it was pretty hands-on.
It's probably totally true.
Well, could be. No, everybody seemed pretty encouraged. There were a number of things going on in the community that called out for somebody to run, and I was certainly the underdog. It was a 3-term incumbent, and it was a fun election.
What was it like election night?
Oh, it was just probably, I've talked to other people who've been mayors for the first time in an underdog situation. There's probably nothing to compare to it. You come from behind, you win, you're young. It's a new day. It's you. It's the mayor's thing. It's tremendous. We're in our back deck. In that time, the elections were in May, and a beautiful night. We stayed up fairly late and celebrated, and it was really a memorable evening. And according to my mother later, my father said, this is one of the happiest nights of my life.
Oh.
That's kind of nice.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Isn't that nice to know that you created that? So you served for quite a while.
Well, just 2 terms,
Yeah, well, that's still...
Yeah, it seemed like a long time, yeah. We had a lot of fun. It was Moncton's a great spot. Moncton and Riverview, they're a growing part of the Maritimes, and, a pocket of prosperity, as I often said. Back then, I would call them federal ministers who didn't understand, Atlantic Canada. And that's what I would say. Moncton's a very happy place to be in charge of.
Tell me then about the decision to run federally, because one of the great things about running municipally is that you live and work in your community. You're still getting approached by people who want to talk to you about whatever is wrong or sometimes right in the city, but you're at home. You just drive home at night. Why would you decide to run for something that meant that you had to fly home at the end of a week?
Well, it sounds corny, but I do think it's a bit of a calling. We had a terrific MP and minister in Claudette Bradshaw just before us, and she decided to hang up the gloves. And Mr. Martin and I had been conversant. I was on FCM, and he was very encouraging, and it was a call. Certainly talked to everybody about it, and they thought it was the right thing to do. I probably underestimated, like every MP does, the amount of travel and away time. But the other point is that when you're home, you're home. And a mayor goes to probably a lot more functions in his community than an MP does, primarily because he has to be at everything that goes on. And an MP, it's like what we try to do now, say Sunday is for families or church and that sort of thing, and that seems to work out pretty well. I think there's a balance is what I'm trying to say. And as you know, the House does not sit all year round, and recently less than that. Political. But, you know, that's the reality. You're home in the summer, and there are no meetings where a city council, I wouldn't see there's a big difference, aside from the, you know, it's the Tuesday, Wednesday night. I was always out till midnight on Monday. That was meeting night at home. It's the Tuesday, Wednesdays after 7 or 8 o'clock up here that that's the major difference in the two jobs.
What's the difference?
Well, you're not home. And you're not doing anything else. If there's a saying, I think there's an old MP told me this, if you're out after 7 or 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night, 8 or 9 o'clock, you're not up to much good, you know, because it's not a committee, it's not a reception. They're over at 7 or 8 o'clock, and he's out to dinner with some friends, that's fine. But I keep to my regime pretty carefully, not to you know, stay out too late on those nights, and to try to, you know, catch the kids before they go to bed and all that sort of thing.
So what do you do then on those Tuesday and Wednesday nights when you're here in Ottawa and you've finished the reception and you go home?
Well, there's a gym. There's try to pick up some hockey that interests me. And
playing or watching?
Playing, yeah. Okay. Playing. Not a Senator fan, so difficult for me.
Well, that's all right. I mean, we can't all be totally perfect.
No, not a Senator fan. Sorry, but so no, and it's a long way out there. So no, I find things to do. Certainly, there's a lot of homework involved with Parliament in my current duties, so I have a fair amount of reading to do. Then all of a sudden it's Thursday, or in many cases Friday, and you can get to go home. So it's good.
Yeah. Tell me, what are you reading?
Right this moment.
Yeah.
I'm reading the final pages of Ivan Rand, a Canadian maverick, a book about a justice of the Supreme Court who was very famous and came from Moncton. So we've named there was a lecture on Friday actually by the author William Kaplan, and it's a really interesting book, particularly the beginning parts, because I can just see my grandfather and Ivan Rand, they practiced on the same street in the same era. Wow. He moved on to great things which were terrific, and he's a great Canadian, so that's what I'm reading.
Do you read mainly historical or biographies? Yes? Yeah,
biography, I just can't seem to shake it. I try. My wife is a fanatic reader of murder mysteries, and I try them. I just find, you know, at the end somebody dies, or if there's a murder or something.
Usually they die at the beginning.
Maybe, yeah. In the end, at the end of the day, there's gore and awful stuff, and I don't like that. I like reading real things. I don't know. I try fiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do your tastes turn to similar things in television too? Is your big show The National?
Well, no. There are some dramas that I quite like and some comedies I quite like. I'm kind of liking Mad Men now. I'm sort of turning off The Office, but I like that for a long time.
Yeah.
Modern Family, stuff like that. I find that amusing, and Mad Men interesting. It's historical in a way. I mean,
yeah, that's true. It is.
So, you know, around that time that Mad Men was being, you know, that the era it depicts, I was walking around the block as George B. Vanier in my mother's white gloves. So, you know, very historic for me.
Okay, let's talk about the hockey again. We won't talk about your support or not of certain teams, but you play. So what position do you play? I'm
forward now because it's easier.
Okay.
Yeah. Play left wing, you know. Tried out for center, but, you know, not good enough. No, it's very much rec. I have a team at home that I've been part of since I moved back to Moncton, so everybody's growing old gracefully.
Yes. Is this the kind of recreational hockey where you go with a 24-pack of beer in your hockey bag, or is this?
I don't think so, because that might be considered against the local laws. Well, luckily, one of the things we did when the council did when I was at City Hall was build a fourplex arena that has refreshment service to the dressing rooms.
Well, I mean, that was some foresight right there.
Very important because it encourages responsible behavior as well. There's a limit per individual.
Excellent.
Yes.
And as the father of 3 girls,
absolutely,
you're very aware of these things.
Yep.
Now let's talk about those 3 girls.
Yes.
One of them is a hockey player.
Yes.
Yeah, your youngest, is that right?
Bronwyn.
Okay.
Yes. Bronwyn's a hockey player. She's tall and a great skater, and we love watching her.
That's super. What does she play?
She's defense.
Okay.
Yeah, she just came to that on whatever happens, and she's very good at it. She's a good backward skater, and gets along with her teammates and just loves it.
Now, did she become interested in hockey because of you?
I don't think so. She had friends who were interested. I remember bribing her to be very little. I could carry her like this, and we'd watch the Maple Leafs, and bribing her with blue and white Smarties. So she watched more hockey with me than the other 2 did. It might be the watching of the game.
Okay.
She's since turned on me and became a Montreal fan.
I see.
But we're going to sort that out when it comes to paying for her college
education.
Yeah. But no, I think she sort of came to it on her own.
Yeah. And what about your other girls?
Oh, well, Maeve is into student politics and leadership, and just became a young liberal, and is in first year of high school and involved in everything socially. Megan is very much involved in soccer and a huge Justin Bieber fan, and they're the typical little girls, each with their own little niche, but very much teenage young women, really.
And how have you and Jackie managed to find a way to raise these 3 different personalities and still have very busy, independent lives yourselves? Have you talked about having Sunday set aside as a family day. Is that something that you decided to do early on, or do you have other things that you do as a family which allow you to reconnect?
We spend a surprising amount of time together. Anytime you make a rule, it gets broken, so the Sunday thing has been fairly recent. Before that, it's just, things happen. Otherwise, we try when I'm home to have, as my mother inculcated us with, to have family dinner.
Right.
Now, many times the family dinner devolves into some sort of spat about somebody not putting the ketchup away or these minor things.
Yes, I think that happens in everyone's home.
It does.
Yes.
And so then you wonder sometimes it's worth it, but it is worth it because people get to exchange.
To fight together.
The family that fights together.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we spend a lot of time together. I recently got a travel trailer, and we did a bit of that this summer.
Oh, like a fifth wheel or the kind of thing you pull behind your car?
You pull it behind a truck, a travel trailer with slide outs, and everybody's very close there by...
physically, too.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's no getting
nowhere
away.
to go.
That's right. And we've seen parts of... We did this as kids, my brother and I, with our family, and see places like Gaspé and...
That's great. I've always thought it would be neat to do that.
I love it.
Have you enjoyed it?
I love it.
Okay. Do you leave them in the trailer, and that's why you love it? You just tow them?
No, I'd be against the law of motor vehicle acts in several provinces, but thank you for asking. No, everybody does their bit, and it's really quite... we get to do some hiking and see parts of Atlantic Canada and Quebec that are, you may never see again. I remember going to Ingonish Beach this summer with them. That's Cape Breton, Cape Smoky, and all that. And it had been exactly 30 years since I had been there at that beach when we went there in a trailer. So you think you get around and you're going to get back, but many times you don't get back to places that you go as a kid.
Things have changed so much in terms of traveling now with kids. I just got a car. I swore I would never get one that had DVD players, and now I do. And then I swore it would only be for long drives, and now it's not necessarily a very long drive. And I just think that things are so different now for kids. We travel with iPads or iPods or whatever the case may be. When you were little, you didn't have any of that. Do you insist on the same standard for your kids now when you travel, like no electronic equipment, or no, you have so much happier traveling experience?
Well, I have a cousin who's cut out everything but CBC, and and the kids come to a Christmas party and their faces are practically glued to the screen. I tease them about that, but I think that you can't avoid technology, and some of this technology is great, and we have times when we just say, and I just pull the plug on the router, that too much. We watch them. We have a rule. If if I ask you what's on your screen and you touch the screen to get out of a Facebook or something,
good for you.
Then you lose that computer.
That's
Otherwise, I'm always going over, and to my dismay, it's always very uninteresting to me topics. You know, but you have to watch what your children are watching, and that goes with television too. We're having a certain battle now. It's like a court case on a certain television show that we don't want them to watch, but they want to watch.
I see.
And that's the briefs will be filed on this weekend. We'll be having final argument as to who wins.
Moot court or something?
Huh?
Or it's like moot court, or do you actually have like?
I'm kidding about the court part, but we have to make a decision.
As a family, do you have like these kind of?
I actually get them to argue their case. Currently, Maeve is arguing for a cell phone plan from a certain company. Seems to make sense. But there's the quid pro quo of how she's going to pay for it.
I was going to say, who gets to pay?
Yeah, I think I'm raising a law firm sometimes when I think about it. They've all got the arguments, you know.
Okay, so let's, just to talk about family for another minute. You came from a family of 2 boys, and so you grew up with guys, and now you have 3 girls. What was that like when they all came along and you realized you were going to be the lone token male in the house?
It's different. Girls are different than boys. We've had birthday parties where little boys come over, and I always say that at certain ages, up to a certain age anyway, the wreckage after you get a bunch of boys around is physical. You know, there's things that get broken. The wreckage when little girls come around is more emotional. You know, she made fun of my tiara. I mean, it's very different. For me, it's been a blessing and an exposure because I didn't have that sort of female exposure to that extent. So it's a great blessing. I mean, you got to believe that someone is saying, well, you know, that guy needs that exposure and it'll make him a richer person, and it has.
How happy are you going to be for sons-in-law?
I think it'll be great. Somebody to hold the flashlight, you know?
That's right. And maybe you can duct tape him so that he doesn't talk. Because you must hear a lot of that around your house, too.
Probably, too, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Looking forward to it. Not too soon. Not too soon.
Yeah. Okay, so let's flip back. Politics.
Yeah.
Are you happy that you ran federally?
Very much so. I mean, I'm quite happy that... you know, it's hard in opposition, but it's like the saying, if you've never had caviar, peanut butter tastes good. I've never served in government. I came here when Paul Martin lost. So I've enjoyed my work very much, and I think Moncton, Riverview, Dieppe haven't suffered by the fact that we're in opposition. And it's like a bit like going to grad school, because the stuff that I've been charged with is all kind of new to me, and I've enjoyed it extremely much. And I get around to all the 3 communities, and you know, I think I'm quite responsive to what their needs are.
You expected, I assume, to come here and be in government. Was it a big shock when you weren't?
Well, it's never a shock, you know, because you after 5 or 6 campaigns, you sort of have a feel how campaigns are going.
Yeah.
So it wasn't shock, but it was disappointment for sure. Mr. Martin, you know, was one of the reasons I got into federal politics. So not only that we didn't form government, but that he left so abruptly was disappointing.
Yeah. Well, nothing like learning through trial by fire, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You know what? I have so enjoyed the chance to speak with you. I appreciate that you would take the time to come and be here today.
Well, thank you very much, Catherine. It's my pleasure.
I wish you many more years of injury-free hockey.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Great.